Hello there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sherifat and I live in Nova Scotia in Canada. On my YouTube channel, I just share my experience about life here in Canada. I do mainly lifestyle videos and a bit of immigration. I work as a support analyst for an organization here in Nova Scotia. Also, I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant and RCIC. That's why I do a bit of immigration. Let me give a disclaimer out there. Please note that these videos about immigration are not professional advice. They are not tailored to you. So these are like general videos on immigration. If you want specific tailored, sessions, please book a session with me and I'll be able to talk to you, personalized, customized. So please don't take these videos hook and sinker. They're not professional advice, okay? That I put that out there. So in this video, I'll be sharing my experience, my knowledge about study permit refusals and how you can address them. To start with, I started my practice in May of 2021. It's been about a year and 5 months since I've been doing immigration as a profession. I have a license for that. And in my over 1 year, I've had 2 refusals for study permits. Sadly, yeah. However, to the glory of God, these 2 refusals, I asked for what we call reconsideration and they were approved. Like I did not reapply for them, just asked for a reconsideration because I felt that those refusals were not just. And to God be the glory, they were approved. So I'll get to all of that with you in this video, right? So I'll be using these 2 refusals as case study in this video, right? So this is not something I read up online or I'm imagining. These are things I've gone through, I've experienced, and I thought to share my knowledge, with you guys. Before I even talk about addressing a refusal, I would like to say that before you apply for a visa to come study here, do all you can to submit a formidable application. It's not enough to just submit an application just like that and then you will look for ways. It's better you avoid even getting a refusal and then looking for ways to address it. It's best to do your best at the beginning and submit a formidable application. Though, let me add that even some cases where people have submitted the best of the best applications, they still get refused. That's different, right? But just do your own part and make sure that what you've submitted is formidable. You are able to say, no, this refusal is not just, right? If you've not submitted something tangible, then you won't have any legs to stand on to say, oh, this was not just. So first things first, try your utmost best to submit a formidable application. If after you've done that to the best of your ability and then you get refused, then let's get to how you can address it. So when you get a refused application, what you get is a refusal letter telling you why you were refused. That letter is usually generic. It's not like very specific. It's very, very generic. That is why once you receive that, I always recommend you to request for what we call a GCMS note. Only permanent residents and Canadian citizens can apply for GCMS note. So if you're outside Canada, you're not a PR or a Canadian, you can ask your friend, your family, or a consultant like myself to help you request for a GCMS note if they are PR or Canadian. That's that. The GCMS note is more elaborate than the generic refusal letter you receive. It's very comprehensive for the most part. From experience, about 85 to 90% GCMS notes come back more elaborate than the refusal letter you receive. So I'll share 2 of those my clients who got refused and the letter got approved. So I'll show you the refusal letter they received and the GCMS notes they received. You see the parallel, like those 2 are not the same at all. In the letter, they just tell you, well, you're refused for financial reasons. That's it. But in the GCMS notes, they are more detailed as to why they think that you do not have the financial standing to be able to apply for this visa. So let me show you this letter and then the GCMS notes, okay? So here is the refusal letter that she received. It says, thank you for your interest in studying in Canada. After a careful review of your study permit application and supporting documentation, I have determined that the application does not meet the requirements of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, IRPA, and Immigration and Refugee Protection Regulations, IRPR. I am refusing your application on the following grounds. I am not satisfied that you will leave Canada at the end of your stay, as stipulated in subsection 2161 of the IRPR, based on your personal assets and financial status. You are welcome to reapply if you feel that you can respond to these concerns and can demonstrate that your situation meets the requirements. All new applications must be accompanied by a new processing fee. That was the refusal letter. Now, this is the GCMS note. It says PA, so PA is the applicant. PA to take masters at the school. I just tried to write the name of the school. Only daughter accompanying. I note daughter is a US citizen. Applicant is being sponsored by her husband. Funds shown are not well documented in terms of how they were accumulated. Pay slips provided but do not appear to match credit in either of his bank accounts. Overall, husband's accounts show a total balance of approximately blah 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 and a lump sum investment of about blah blah blah. Based on estimated cost of living provided by the school and considering the fund offered by the school, I have concerns that PA does not show sufficient funds to pay tuition and sustain herself. This does not take into account the fact that daughter will accompany and additional expenses will be required. I note TH of PA. Based on information provided, I'm not satisfied funding for husband is durable and not merely for demonstration purposes. On balance, I'm not satisfied that the applicant is well established in the country of residence and that sufficient funds would be available to undertake intended education and care for a child. Refuse. Do you notice the difference between the refusal letter and the GCMS notes? Do you now see what I mean by the refusal letter being generic and the GCMS notes being more detailed? In the letter, they just told her the reason for refusal was because of financial situation. When the note, it was broken down as to the reason why she was refused. So let me address the things they said. So it says that the PA, so it says that the funds shown are not well documented in terms of how they were accumulated. So like I always tell my clients, it's not enough to have the money is great, but it's not enough. What's even more important is showing how you came across this money. The source of income is very, very important. You have the money, that's great, but how did this money come about? So if you're in paid employment, you show your pay slips. If you're into business, you show your business document and say your receipts, your invoices, how this money. And if it's a sponsorship by a third party, you must show this third party document as well. What to do for a living, if it's business, if it's paid employment, they must say and show proof for all of the things they claim to be doing, right? And if you've sold a property, for example, you must show proof for that sale. If it's investment, if it's a car, you must show proof for every money, especially lump sum. You must explain how this money came to your accounts. So they're saying that they did not show how the lump sum came into his account. That's one. And they said that the pay slips he provided does not appear to match credits in either of his bank accounts. So if you are showing pay slip, if you show that your pay slip paid you XYZ, that amount must reflect in your bank accounts. The visa officer had concerns about that, his pay slip not matching the credit on his account. And he says that based on the money they've even shown, don't think that they'll be able to take care of themselves and the daughter. Let's get into it. So how do you address a refusal? First off, once you get the refusal letter, you understand the reason, and then you order a GCMS note. Number two, when you receive the GCMS notes and the reasons they gave does not sound just to you. For example, if they say that, oh, we are refused because of financial reasons, because we think that you don't have enough money to pay your tuition or for cost of living expenses, and you have shown beyond reasonable doubt that you have the means. For example, if you have paid school fees, for example, or you have the money in your account, you've shown money, the minimum requirement, and even much more than the minimum requirement, and they refused you for that, you were able to ask for reconsideration. But if, for example, they say that in the notes, they say that the reason you refuse is because your pay slip amount does not show in any of your accounts. For example, if they say that they saw lump sum amount in your account that you did not explain, then the fault is on you. You're not able to ask for reconsideration for what you did not show in your application. But if, for example, you have shown your pay slip and the amount is matching your accounts, deposits, you have shown that you have paid school fees, you showed your receipts, or everything about your finances was well addressed in the application, then you're able to ask for reconsideration. Now, for reconsideration, it's not like they would approve it. From research, from experience, from what I've heard, the ratio is very, very low. For example, if you submit, say, 10 requests for reconsideration, maybe 1 or 2 will be reconsidered. So you see, the ratio is very, very low. That is why I'm very, very grateful to God that 2 of my only refusals that I asked for reconsideration for were approved. It's not bad. I did my best, but for me, I just see it as like the grace of God. Like, I'm just grateful to God. So I'm not going to come here and say, oh, I did a great job, that's why it was reconsidered. Some people have done good applications, even than mine, and they did not get reconsidered. So yes, I did my best. I did my job well, and then the grace of God also, applies in this case. That's me. I'm a believer of God. It's up to you to believe or not, but as I say it. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So you ask for reconsideration. If most times so for reconsideration, there's no like a procedure, like no timeline, nothing. Just submit and hopefully that they approve it. Most times people say give it 10 business days or a couple of days. If you don't hear, if you don't have it reconsidered, then go ahead and reapply or go to the court and contest it. So first thing, when you get a refusal, request for a GCMS note. That's my number 1 advice. Number 2, when your GCMS note comes and you see that the reason given was not just, you are able to ask for a reconsideration. If after 10 business days or a couple of days you don't get a reconsideration, you can go ahead and reapply. When you get a GCMS note, 2 things would come to play. One will be the reasons given, are they just? If they're not just, you can ask for a reconsideration. But if the reasons they're given and you see that in truth you did not address these concerns in the application when you're submitting, then you have to reapply. And in your reapplication, you address these concerns. So GCMS notes does 2 things for you. Tell you the reason. So if it's not just, you can ask for reconsideration. And if it's just, if you think that yes, I think I made a mistake on my part as well, then do a reapplication. If after you request for reconsideration, after 10 business days, 15 business days, any amount of days you can wait for, and you don't get feedback, reapply. Addressing the concerns they have in the application. That's one. The next thing I recommend is, if after you have asked for a reconsideration because you think it was not reviewed properly, you can then go to court if you have the money. Going to court is not cheap. Getting a lawyer is not cheap for immigration. So if you have the money, you can say you go to court and contest it. So these are ways you can address a refusal. asking for GCMS note to understand the reasons, reconsideration if the reasons are unjust, if they are just, I reapply. And if after you've asked for reconsideration, you don't get one, can go to court and contest this decision. So these are ways you can address a refusal. And I'll show you how I did mine for these two of my clients that I got refusals for and asked for reconsideration, and to the glory of God, they were reconsidered and approved. In fact, one was reconsidered less than 24 hours after I asked for this reconsideration. I'm not joking. How to do a reconsideration? It's an email or a web form. Just saying that, oh, dear officer, I think that this application was not reviewed properly, and the reasons they gave based on the GCMS note is that I did not do this. Meanwhile, I did it. You attach the document that you used to prove that point. And if the officer that gets your email, I don't know the process for IRCs, I don't know how they do it. If you go to the same officer that did it the first time, or if it's another neutral officer, I don't know how it's done. But whoever sees your email and they think that this person is true, they address these concerns in the application originally, they deserve an approval. They overturn that refusal and they give you and grant you approval without paying anything extra, nothing. Just that's how easy it is if you get approved. Right? So for this, my clients that I got refusals for and then later got approval for, I'll share with you a bit of the details. So I wouldn't share their names or their information. I'll be very, very generic, right? So this is just for a learning curve for those of you who have applied or who intend to apply or who have been refused before, just to understand how this process works, and I hope you learn a thing or two from these experiences. So the first person I'll talk about is my client from Ghana. She came to me because she was refused if study permits. And it was surprising to me because this person's application was being funded. This person's schooling was being funded fully by the school. It was like a scholarship, like they were offering her funding for 2 years in master's program in a very high-profile school in Ontario University. So I was surprised that they refused the application. So I'm like, okay, let's request your GCMS. She was like, no, my letter says I was refused based on funding. That maybe we can add more money to the account and reapply. I'm like, no, we have to request for a GCMS note to understand the exact reasons why you were refused. And as you saw from the GCMS notes, see how elaborate it was. See the reasons they gave as to why she was refused. If she had not asked for the GCMS notes, she would not understand the exact reason. And it's like going to the market with blindfold, like blinded. You won't walk into the market blindly. You will apply again, they might still refuse you because you haven't addressed the exact reasons why you were refused. So for anything, like no matter how much you are in a hurry to submit an application, please ensure you request for a GCMS note. If there's nothing you gain from this video today, gain GCMS notes. It's very important. It has saved a lot of people, right? So I told her we have to apply for GCMS notes, and the timeline RCIC gives for that is 30 business days. But because of backlog, sometimes it takes 2 months or less than that, or even more than that. But from the ones I've done, she said about a month, 6 weeks. The most I've seen is 2 months. I would rather you wait for that 1 month, 6 weeks, or 2 weeks, or 2 months rather, to know the reasons you were refused, than to be in a hurry to submit an application. You can always defer your admission. It's not like life and death. You can defer your admission till you get your acts together. So once we received the note, so she was like, wow, this is you're right, Sherifat. These reasons that I wouldn't have even known this is the reason why I was refused this visa. So we got to work. She returned my services to help her reapply. So I told her, first and first, we have to address these concerns of the officer. All this money you put in your account, where are they from? Your pay slip, where is this money going? Like, where is the salary? So as I said before, this lady's schooling is being funded by the school, full funding. So the only thing our spouse was supporting with is our cost of living expenses for her and the daughter who was coming with her, right? So I tell you have to explain your husband's pay slip, his salary, the lump sum is put there. So we address that. And then I now laid emphasis on this. So I told her to get more documents from the school, from a professor, to show that this school is really funded. So the only thing we are concerned about now is our cost of living expenses. And aside it even being funded, this offer also contains like a work in the school. So she's working with the professor and she'll be earning money. So we have to like highlight that. So sometimes people think, we have said it's funded, so they should know. You have to buttress every part of the application to the officer. Because the truth is, these people are also humans. They have, I don't know how much work they do in a day, but not everybody is very thorough. Not everybody will look through what documents you submitted. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm just assuming that not every officer will look through every document you submit. I'm not saying they don't, but it's likely that they don't go through every document you submit. It's possible, right? So you have to highlight in your cover letter, your study plan, explain like the main things. Oh, I'm being funded. This is the money they are being funded. This is how it's going to go. This is my... I have to explain it. So we explained that. I did my best. I told her to get more documentation from the school, her husband's payslip. Like, I did my best to address this concern, and we submitted the application again. Unfortunately, the one we submitted was also refused. So I'll show you the reasons it was refused.
So here is the refusal letter we received for the second application. Remember that she applied for the first one herself and then she came to us to help her with the second one. The second was also refused. So it says that I'm refusing your application because you have not established that you will leave Canada based on the following factors. The purpose of your visit to Canada is not consistent with a temporal stay given the details you have provided in your application. 2, your assets and financial situation are insufficient to support the stated purpose of travel for yourself. And then I applied for the GCMS notes, and this came. It says principal applicant seeks to study at blah 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 university in Canada. Previous refusal noted. US travel noted. She's been traveled to US before to have a daughter. She has a US born daughter. And it says PA is self-funded. That's applicant is self-funded. That's for me, that's number one error, because this application is a fully funded application by the school, not the applicant. So that was error number one for me. And it says spouse pay slip noted. Given applicants' previous educational history, the motivation to pursue studies in Canada at this point does not seem reasonable. That for me was also not true, because this lady has a BSc in a particular program and she got funding to do masters in that same field, right? Says study plan submitted is general and does not outline a clear career path goals to which such educational program will be of benefit. That's not true as well. She had a very comprehensive study plan. Also, in my own representative submission letter, I also elaborated on her study plan, what she was coming to do, right? So it says, I'm not satisfied that the applicant's primary purpose is to study in Canada and will leave by the end of the authorized stay. Refused.
So you see the reasons why the one I submitted was refused. When I read it, I'm like, this person must have not reviewed this thing properly. Because all the concerns he or she raised were clearly addressed in my submission. I told my clients, are you ready to work with me with this? You have to be patient. We would request for another GCMS note for this second application. She was like, oh, Sherifat. I remember her saying, Sherifat, my first application, only one reason was given for my refusal. The one you submitted, 2 reasons we are given, 2 different reasons we are given. I'm like, I also like I understand how you feel. I also feel bad about this. This is surprising for me because I did my best. I thought, like, don't worry, let's request the GCMS notes. So once I saw these notes, I'm like, I don't think this officer went through this thoroughly. Because how can you say that applicant's previous educational history and the motivation to pursue studies in Canada does not seem reasonable? This lady was also had scholarship from Ghana by the Ghanaian government. She's doing the same, her BSc in a particular field. She's going to do masters in the same field. A school in Canada is also funding her because of her academic prowess. She's got high grades. How can you now tell me that it's not reasonable for her to come and study on scholarship? I'm like, this person, nah. And that was the only reason they stated. I told her, let me ask for reconsideration. Because, like, this reason is, I don't want to use like dumb, but it is dumb. Because how can you say somebody that's been offered scholarship to come do a master's in a program she's done in her undergrad is not reasonable? Who says funding and not jump at it? This school offering her scholarship is not just a school from nowhere. This is one of the high-profile schools in Canada, in Ontario there. So I sent, you see my email. I had to ask them that I had to tell them I don't think this officer went through this application at all. Because our study plan, my own submission letter, the documents from the school, our previous education, our past scholarship from our government in our country, everything were buttressed. There were documents to show for these things. The first one that was refused, they said the husband's money did not show proof for how the money came. After explaining that in my own application that I submitted, they now went to look for another reason. Now said that the reason now is that the study is not reasonable. If they had seen my email, I not insult them, but it was strongly worded. I'm like, how can you say this? Honestly, it was less than 24 hours that I was reconsidered. I was very, very happy, but I was not surprised because it was a no-brainer. Like, there was no other reason for them to refuse this lady's application. To the glory of God, they approved it. Today is 15th of October. This lady landed Canada on the 12th of October, 3 days ago, and she sent me an email. I showed that email. Sherifat, I'm in Canada. Like, I had tears of joy because this application, the first one was refused in November of 2021. We applied another one in April of 2022, and we got refused in June of 2022. We asked for a reconsideration in that. So we asked for the GCMS note. It didn't come until August 2022. Then we asked for a reconsideration, and it came in August as well. And she got her pass, and she got a stamped visa in September, but she couldn't land until October. That is my first reconsideration that was approved. I was really, 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 really happy. It was like a miracle. Like, it was like a dream. I sent the email in the evening. I slept and I woke up to meet an email that it's been approved after reconsideration. That's one. Now the second application that was also reconsidered. This particular person is my first study permit client. All my clients are very dear to me, but this particular one is very, very dear. She used to follow me on my page on Instagram before I even got my license. So I announced that I got my license in May of 2021, and in June she said, "Oh, Sherifat, oh, congratulations! I'd like you to take care of my application for me and my family." And I'm like, hey, she be in JJC in this field. Like, why would want to take a chance with me?
That my first study permit client that I was talking about. This is the first thing she sent to me on Instagram. So from this message, you can see that she was not a novice in immigration. Like, she had done some things on her own, you know. So when I received this, I'm like, oh, this person is not a novice. She knows what she's doing.
And she told me, oh, I'd like you to do my application and all of that. So we started. So I got admission for her. So she came to me in June, right? And then a couple of months we got admission for her in a school here in Canada. And then we applied. So Before we applied, I told her that I think she had to put in place her finances and documentation. She's self-employed. She has a grocery store, like a supermarket in Nigeria, and she was being sponsored by her husband. So I told her, this documents you have, like I've seen now, I know enough. You have to do this, and that. You have to like build your finances, put your book, keep it in order, your receipts, your invoices, your husband's pays, all of those things have to be ready. So we couldn't submit until February of 2022. Then in March, I got a refusal for her.
So this right here was the letter we received for the reasons for refusal. So one was that they said that they did not think that she would leave Canada at the end of her stay based on her family ties in Canada and in her country of residence. For one, she has nobody in Canada as a family member. All our family members are in Nigeria. And then they also said that because of personal assets and financial, situation or financial status, it says. So I went on to request for the GCMS notes with the client's, approval. So, if you could read this, you could just, maybe pause it and then read it. All we're saying is that the sponsor, who is the spouse, that we did not show enough evidences for his business. He is in paid employment. He also has a business. And honestly, I did my best. We submitted the available documents we had to show for his business, that it was genuine and they were making money from it. They had concerns that, there were lump sum of money from the business that were not explained enough. Because I'd explained enough, I had to do a as I told her, you deserve a reconsideration, so I'll put in a request for you, which we did.
So once I got the GCMS notes, I then asked for reconsideration. Days passed, weeks passed, no response. Unlike my Ghanaian clients that got a response in 24 hours. This other person is a Nigerian. We did not get response for days, for weeks. It was like, Sherifat, let us reapply. I'm like, okay, we'll reapply. And then we split a reapplication in August. By about a week or two after the second application was submitted, I got an email that the first one has been reconsidered and approved. Now, I don't know if the second application triggered that. I don't know. But the first application that was refused, that I asked for reconsideration, was now reconsidered and approved. So the second one was cancelled by RCIC. So this particular one took longer for it to be reconsidered and approved than the first one. To say I was happy would be understating it, would be putting it mildly. And the reason I asked for a reconsideration was because all the things they had said to be the reasons for the refusal were addressed in the application. About the spouse's income, his businesses, no proof. All those things had been buttressed in the application. Like I've said, I've put this thing in you, I've explained this thing. So I'm not sure why you're refusing this. So these two clients are the only ones I've received refusals for study permits. I'm not going to say I'll not get more refusals. I hope not, but I'm a realist. And even for my clients, I always tell them I cannot guarantee you visa. But what I can guarantee you is that I will hold your hands from start to finish. I will put in my best to submit a formidable application for you. But I am not IRCC. I cannot guarantee you visa. I always tell my client that. But be rest assured that I will do my best for your application. That I can guarantee. So that's my story for my only refusal. I pray that I don't jinx it. I've gotten a number of approvals, but these two are the only ones I've gotten refusals for study permits. And I'm grateful that those two came out approved. One of these two people are already in Canada. She came in Canada 3 days ago. The other one is coming next month. So I'm happy for these two clients. I'll show you their reviews, their how they were happy. I even had a call with them to share the news with them. I'll show you a part of it. And
So this is the timeline for my clients from Ghana that I spoke about. So in April, it was submitted, the second application. In June, it came refused. Then we applied for the GCMS note, and that came in August. And immediately, I applied for the reconsideration, and it came in about 24 hours. And, our visa was stamped. So here I was waiting for her to join me on Zoom so I could share the news with her. Yesterday I have an update for you. That can you please, join me on Zoom? So I was waiting for her here.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right, how are you today? It's been a while. I saw your beautiful face.
Thank you. You're even prettier.
Oh, I know. How are you? How's your baby? How's your husband?
Oh, fine. Everybody's doing
Okay, you're enjoying your visit in the US. Is it? Are you...
After that, Charlie Hash, I just said, okay, well, my visa is even almost expiring, so let me just come in a couple of months.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I know I told you I sent the reconsideration email yesterday, the email for the reconsideration.
Yeah, I saw it actually, yes.
Yeah, I sent it yesterday, and I have great news for you, Emi.
Really?
Your action has been approved.
Ha!
Yeah.
Just yesterday.
Yeah. I saw the email this morning that you sent your passport that's been approved, so it was reconsidered.
Hey,
so anyway, I thought to call you and verbally express my congratulations.
Oh my goodness, these people have, this mistake has cost me. These people have, hey, somebody's negligence, somebody's lack of, what do I even call it?
Like, there was no tangible reason for it to have been refused. No tangible reason. It took me like almost 10 days to compose, because it's not like copy and paste. Like, I had to think about what to say, what to write. Because if you have applied,
it's perfect. Because I went through it and I saw the way you, and even your submission. You sent me your submission when I was back in Ghana. Highlighting most of the documents we had presented, and you as my representative, and it was perfect. So we are putting everything out. Everything. So hopeful that this will go through. Just so hopeful. Oh, for these people.
I know. I can imagine how you feel. And now that you even got to the US, like I was when I'm like, wow, this is like another expenses that you. So now to get your passport to them now, how will you send your passport to them now? That's my concern now. Because you have just 30 days to do that.
How many days?
30 days. So you tell your husband about the visa already? Because I know you told me that you're scared to tell him and all that.
I got it. I had to. Sorry.
Yeah.
I had to tell him about it. We were not sad, but. So you can see this is really a grave mistake, because for it to be sent one day and the next day.
Less than 1 day, because I went around 3:47 my time and 6:52 a.m. the email came. So I would say about 9 hours.
It means the person on the other end who takes his job seriously really opened the looked at,
and you see how I highlighted that thing in red. I'm like, fully funded, because it's a no-brainer. Over $40,000 is a lot of money. Like I felt for you, like on a platter of gold. It's not easy to come by a fully funded program like that.
It is not.
It's not. Are you telling me that? I have people who even go like, you are really, really blessed, and congratulations. I just wanted to express this in person.
So I was wondering. I said, why would Sister Sherifat want to talk? Okay, let me hear. But now, she's going to yab me on this process. To be patient, who will take some months to hear from them. I probably thought that was the reason. Because honestly, I lost hope. You actually even dragged me along when you say, you know what, I'll do this and I'll do it for free. Because I did not have a penny. We were drained.
I mean, you've tried. Like, I wouldn't. Okay. All right. Congratulations again. Take care and all the best. Bye.
Right here is the review that this client dropped for us. It was really, really a pleasure to work with her and her husband. They were patient, they were understanding, and they worked with us as a team, because even with our efforts, if we don't have the client's cooperation, it would be, nothing. So we are grateful that they cooperated with us. And it was the email she sent to me when she got to Canada, guys. You don't even understand how happy I was. I had tears of joy actually with this email. And this is my second reconsideration request. And this particular client is my first study permit client that I told you about. So it was in February we submitted, and in March it came refused. And then we asked for GCMS, so that took a little bit longer. And then to the glory of God, it came back approved, like it came back reconsidered and approved with 2 of our children as well.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, no, madam. Good. Can I see your face?
Dadani. Okay, yes.
Okay, see, I'm driving.
Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Okay, so this morning, I know I sent the email for reconsideration on 25th of July. Then I got an email to say that the application has been approved.
Alhamdulillah, yay! Reconsideration is not approved.
Yeah, the first one. I'm still surprised as well. So until I see the visa, but I mean it's been approved, alhamdulillah. So
this is a miracle.
Miracle.
Hey.
So the alhamdulillah. That's the news. Oh, when you're making stuff for you, family. Copy one email, but also let me just tell you. In fact, when I that's the news I said I should share with you. Congratulations, I rejoice with you, and
God, you are the best.
You've been patient. Alhamdulillah. In fact, I don't anymore. So, even if
it does not work, God just look at money so when the first clients me phone study permit here when the first 001 mo rí lórí form tẹ fún mi mo rí 001 mo dẹ̀ rí pé lẹ́yìn mi àwọn méjì ti wà approved.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, so can you imagine how heartbroken I was? But mo rí refusal yìí, I was heartbroken.
Mo ṣé mi ò mọ effort yín lórí career admission lórí ká gba study permit lórí I know gbogbo nǹkan tẹ̀ ṣe pátápátá ni mo mọ̀ Ọlọ́run ló kúkú máa san yín lẹ́san rẹ̀ kò sóore tí mo fẹ́ ṣe fún yín Ọlọ́run ló máa san yín lẹ́san rẹ̀ ẹ̀ ní ṣe lásán lágbára Ọlọ́run àwọn oore tọ́lọ́run ti parí lọ́lọ́run máa gbé wá sọ́dọ̀ yín àwọn iṣẹ́ tọ́lọ́run ti parí Ọlọ́run máa gbé wá sọ́dọ̀ yín ẹ̀ ní ṣiṣẹ́ gbà lágbára Ọlọ́run ẹ ṣé o mo lóore gan-an.
So I send the passport request so
God bless you.
Amen.
Mo dúpẹ́ ẹ ṣé o. Ẹ bá mi táwọn ṣé o. Ọlọ́run á kẹ́ yín o. Ọlọ́run á ṣe yín lóore tó pọ̀ gan o.
Àmín o. Àtẹ̀yìn náà. All right. All right.
Yes, ma.
Bye. And that was my first study permit application. It's been approved to the glory of God. I'm so happy. This client has been so patient, so understanding, so everything. Alhamdulillah. All glory to God.
And this dear client of ours up to us this review, regarding our service. It was a delight to work with her and her family. We are grateful that everything turned out well to the glory of God.
Okay, so let me start by thanking you for booking my service. I really do appreciate it. How's the family? How's everything? How's your baby? And work?
Yeah, everything is fine. And I guess booking your service did not come by accident. I know you and done a lot of work.
That's
over
right.
The past 6 months, I think, on her application, her follow-up, and all the issues. So thank you very much. I think I'll use this opportunity to thank you because I know you have always been in touch with her.
Yeah.
On the application, when it got rejected, all the follow-ups, and even as of now that she's been able to get into Arwa. So thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you too for using my service, right? Thank you.
And thanks for the support as well given to her, because I know it was not like a solo effort. It was a joint effort by the both parties. I know how expensive this process is, the money, the investments, the efforts, the emotions, put into all of this is not a child's play. So yes, good job on your part as well. Okay, so let's get started. You like to come to Canada with her, right?
It has always been an option. So I want to make it not just an option, but a viable option.
Yeah. It's not impossible. It's not impossible at all. So yes, you're able to apply for spousal open work permits.
Like I said, reconciliation is not like constant. It doesn't come every day. Like, I've heard people who have asked for reconciliation and it did not come back approved. So honestly, I'm grateful to God for my clients own being approved. So that's that. If you don't get reconsidered, don't relent. You can always reapply and address the issues in the GCMS notes, much more than you did before, right? So those are my recommendations to you to address your visa refusal, and I hope and pray that it works out well for you, for your application, for your reconsideration, your reapplication, everything. I pray it works out well for you. I've come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've been refused visa before, we can assist you agreeing to leave. We have a service called Visa Refusal Management, and in this service it entails us requesting your GCMS notes, addressing it for you, help you understanding what the officer is saying, and then we work with you to manage and see if you can if you should ask for reconsideration, or if you should reapply or go to court if you have the means to do that. So that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you learned a thing or two. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Have a great time and all the best. Bye.